Hello there, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Stay in Business interview series. And today I am joined by Trudy. And Trudy is a high ticket sales and marketing consultant. And she's been doing this for over 3 years, two times working part time and building the business, and now one year doing it full time while raising two babies. And fun fact, Trudy was also the first mentor that I ever hired online, and she helped me build my own coaching business from scratch. Trudy, I'm so happy to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Aisha. Thank you so much for inviting me to come on to your podcast. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. So, Tree, one of the reasons why I decided to work with you was because I was also in that position of being in a 9 to 5 and wanting to make that transition. So,
Yeah.
for you, like, when was the moment that you realized, like, this is it? I'm going to make this transition?
Yeah. I'm going to be very transparent with you in saying that I've been holding on to the dream for many, many years. I've always had the fire in me to take that path of full-time entrepreneur, but the moment with every year I had more responsibilities. I got married, I became first time mom, and then I was pregnant with my second one. And with every responsibility I felt the fear of going into it full time. But to come back to your question, the moment that I really stepped into it full time was last year April, so it has been slightly over a year now. And actually I took the leap of faith, but not just by just hoping it would work out. To be honest with you, I wouldn't actually recommend someone necessarily to stop their 9 to 5 totally. Maybe we can get into that in a little bit. But I took the leap of faith because I had some receipts coming in. And what I mean by that is like proof, right? My offer was validated. I was signing clients. Even when I was increasing my prices, people were still saying yes to me. The math was mathing, and I was doing the math. And a lot was coming in. I also hit my first 10K month back then. And I was like, okay, what would happen if I can pour the time that I still invest in my 9 to 5 into my business? And obviously I had the conversation with my husband as well, to see if he could, like, what are his thoughts, right? And he also gave me the push, like, yeah, I've been seeing what you're doing, and take the leap of faith, at least try, and just go for it. But then you've given it your all, and we're here a year later. But yeah, it has been great. But I always tell people, as much as the online world try to sell the dream of quit your job and go into it, if you ask me, don't just quit your job. Do collect receipts, at least prove to yourself that your offer is validated in the marketplace, because running a business from really scarcity, kind of lack, anxiety, and maybe like survival as well, is not the
Yeah,
vibe.
I totally agree with. And I love that you highlight that. And for you as well, what you mentioned in terms of being a new mom, getting married, like the responsibilities, like how did you
Yeah,
navigate that? Because I know there's so many moms out there, that want to have more
yeah,
presence with, their babies, but they
yeah.
also want to have that freedom. And exactly what you mentioned, like at the beginning, that's not gonna be there. You're gonna have to make sacrifices. Like, how did you navigate that?
Good question. I will start off by saying I had to make my fair share of sacrifices. So I would love to say that, it was just like doing business on my own terms and all of that. That was not the case behind the scenes. I was making a lot of sacrifices, things like binging Netflix. I wasn't really doing it. I had to sometimes skip putting my kids to bed. Thankfully, I have a partner that could do that for me. But I had a village behind me, right? I'm very close with my sisters as well. They were helping me when I had to take on sales calls. So those are the things that aren't often shared on social media, but behind the scenes they were happening, so that I could put my business in that position where I could go into that full time. Another thing is having kids in particular. I knew that honestly, I didn't have the same 24 hours as, potentially another woman doing the same thing as me without any kids and, having the full dedication for her business. I knew that my 24 hours kind of looked different. I didn't use that as a reason to sit on a pity party. I was like, okay, so what do you need to do then? Right. And it helped me to really focus on what's important. And I think it helped me to realize quicker I need to become better at selling. So early on, I invested pretty early in my sales skills, and that's all I focused on. I wasn't really focusing on personal brand or like making content pretty. Like that was just like a side thing. It was like I need to sell, right? That's all. I have very limited hours, so let me use those limited hours to kind of move the needle. So yeah, I mean, that was really it. That helped me balance the being a kind of like a young mom with two kids and actually a fairly new business and growing it to where it is right now is really. I even stopped doing podcasting. Actually, Digital Dreamers Hub, that's the name of my business, started off as a podcast. I stopped doing that for a long time. I was getting people on board, but that was also a very hard decision, and I see it as a sacrifice to actually bring my business to where it is right now. So sacrifices were made behind the scenes, and it wasn't always a choice that I wanted, but it was good for the long
Yeah,
run.
and I love that you highlight that you invested in sales early on, right? And what would you
Yeah.
say has been, because obviously when you get into sales, it's like you discover all of these like mindset blocks and like, oh, I have to sell. Like, what would you say was your own journey in that, and where would you say you are now?
Yeah. Learning skills was very eye opening. And to be honest, it was liberating because I finally felt like I could control what happens in my business. And it felt so good. I wasn't tied to any algorithm. I wasn't, it wasn't like hoping and praying something comes up. So a world opened up for me like, oh my God, okay, I can control what I earn to a certain extent, right? And what I had to navigate was definitely my self esteem and my self worth. Especially if you're maybe like newish in the game, I can understand that if you haven't yet collected receipts, and what I mean by a receipt is, kind of like testimonials, proof of your offer being wanted in the market. Even though you know that maybe you can sell something at $10,000, you still wouldn't because of the fear of can I even deliver upon this transformation? There's so many things that goes through your mind, but man, I've made a lot of progress, and it's a journey. And I think it shouldn't be rushed. Honor the season where you're in right now, right? Even if you know you can charge $7,000, and if you feel like it's for you, you can charge that, but it's something, the weight of it you cannot carry or embody, that's fine. Charge something at a beta price just to get people through the door. That's always what I say. And just see it as a journey. You have to learn to walk before you run, right? So sometimes I do see like a lot of female experts kind of rushing through the whole journey of, but I know I can, of course, but it's a gradual process as well. And with every proof that you collect, it also builds up the self-esteem. It also builds up your credibility as well because you're building up more marketing
Yeah.
assets for your business that eventually justifies your pricing as well. So for me, it has been a long journey of really looking at my triggers. That's all sales is. It has nothing to do with the person that is in front of me. It's just like, wow, there were a lot of beliefs, a lot of things about myself. And when I was doing sales, it was all coming
Mm-hmm.
up, like certain beliefs, certain triggers, boundaries that I didn't have, all
Yeah.
of it. And it's really interesting to see where I
It
am
is.
right
And,
now.
I think as you were talking, I was thinking about the identity that you also embody. Because let's be honest, there are a
Yeah.
lot of female experts that are doing their best, also investing in different strategies to get to sales, but it's not happening
Yeah.
for them. Right. And what do you think that reason is? Why people keep investing, but it's just not working out?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. First thing is definitely literally copy pasting the coach strategy. I don't believe in that. I believe in whatever strategy that you're learning, see it as a guide, because eventually your coach journey is not your journey. There's so many factors and elements that goes through someone's success, which doesn't reveal itself in just a strategy, and your journey might be completely the same, right? There are so many nuances to different types of businesses. So first things first, I think people think when I copy exactly A, B, and C, the script, mimicking what the coach is saying, I should be successful. I think that's the downfall. I think it's also learning how to get resources and apply it to who you are, your identity, the business that you're trying to build. I think that's a skill on itself. That's first and foremost. Secondly, it's still the embodiment part, right? This is something that I preach in my program as well, that it's not just strategy. And I feel like it starts with who you are and who you want to be, actually the becoming, not necessarily like the seven figure entrepreneur that you want to be, but actually the
Yeah.
becoming, right? And I think with that, that piece is oftentimes not necessarily paid attention to in a lot of curriculum. I've spoken to a lot of female experts that have been in a lot of coaching programs where they feel like that part didn't get the necessary attention, right? And especially that part is never a one size fits all. So I think that's where we are now in the space that people have access to information. I mean, if someone wants to create an offer, all they have to do is go to chat GPT, get maybe the paid version, and if you're really good at prompting, it can really produce something valuable for you. Like, let's be honest, gone are the days that you have to spend hours doing market research. Honestly, I see market research now as just a lead generation method instead of just only collecting data.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's the part. It's the identity and what, like, can you embody and stand behind even the strategies that you're learning. And if you cannot stand behind it even with 1%, it's not going to
Yeah,
work.
100%. 100%. And how are you then going about deciding how you are scaling your business? Because obviously you also invest in programs. So how do you actually, navigate that when you are also learning strategies from other coaches?
Yes. I'm at a place where, and I think a lot of my ideal clients are in the same place as well, is that I'm very, very aware of what my constraints are in my own business, the opportunities that are present in my business, and what type of support that I would need right now. So I'm very aware. I'm not easily triggered by these marketing ads like 100K, like maybe because I am in the marketing and sales space, but I look for different kind of messaging that really speaks to who I am and that almost can describe my current situation and where I want to be. So it goes beyond the the glam stuff, because at this point we all understand that a little bit, but it's more so, can you really speak to me in who I am as a person and the values that I believe in, my mission for my business. And that's really where you get me. So yes, I've invested as well, and right now where I'm looking towards is the scaling part, and looking into ways where I can even support more people in a way that it doesn't require more of my time, so
Yeah.
to say, right? I'm also very, very, very interested in the digital product space. You see that coming up, people selling their PDFs, their whatever. And I think that is also, to me, it's very interesting. Like, okay, because we all have a lot of resources that we can sell. How great would it be if you can sell your templates like consistently? So that is something that I've also invested in, to really have a good understanding of how to build very valuable products, not just like selling it because it's $7, but the $7 is still playing that high ticket buyer. It's not necessarily the
Yeah.
pricing, it's still speaking to that same person, so to say. So that is what I'm investing in. And also ads, to be honest. I believe that organic and paid ads can coexist. I don't believe you need that early on in your journey. I think you just have to be in the trenches. If you want to sign your first 3 to 5 clients, you don't need that. I mean, if you're in a position to, I always say go ahead and test it. Why not? But if you're not, it's not a must. But I think for me, where I am right now, I really am interested to also understand the world of advertisement and broaden your audience without the manual labor work, so to
Yeah, yeah,
say.
exactly. Because as your business grows and you scale, like your attention needs to also be more on the strategic things. So you cannot do everything yourself and you have
Exactly.
to think smarter. So with that, like what do you feel like are certain
Yeah.
constraints in terms of scaling your business that you are dealing with?
I think what I feel like can definitely be optimized is the understanding of hiring. I think it's sometimes it sounds easy, like, oh, let me just get a VA. But I've had my fair shares of working with different VAs, and I never thought that hiring can be kind of like, because the moment that you offboard someone, you're again investing time and energy in, you know, letting the person understand your business, your vision, your tone of voice, you name it. So I think hiring has been a very interesting journey for me, where there's definitely room for improvement. Where there's also room for improvement is I would say my offer, because I see it as a dynamic something, a dynamic piece of my business. It is because the space where we both in is incredibly dynamic. It's fast, it's quick. Even it doesn't, how it is today is not the same as last month, right? So we have to catch up, we have to be fast. And I think also where there's room for improvement is also looking at my offer, and seeing how I can include today's world elements, things like AI, because that's just part of what we like. That's part of
Yeah.
business now, right? You cannot tell someone like, "Oh, don't use AI." It's just part of what we do on a day to day. So I have been looking into, okay, I have my curriculum right now. How can I maybe include things like AI into it, or maybe other elements that right now are, it's almost a
Yeah.
must, kind of like not only differentiate myself, but it being how do you say it? It being very current in for 2025. It's current, and I think that's something that a lot of programs sometimes they don't pay attention to. It's just a curriculum that has been built in 2023 or even 2024. They haven't really polished up their videos, and here you go, someone going through the curriculum. But even the DM approach, outreach approach has changed. So someone learning skills from 2024 or 2023, I don't know how effective that is. So these are some of the I would say things that are going on in my business where there's still room for improvements. And as I said, digital products as well, also getting a good understanding of how to create very valuable digital products that gives a lot away, um, and then really come up with an interesting pricing, build a funnel behind it. So that's that piece where my business is at the
Yeah.
moment. So it's like that middle there to crack certain codes, and then we're off to a different level of
Yeah,
income.
absolutely. I love that. So innovation, sales, like next to those like harder skills, what do you feel like emotionally or mindset wise are necessary for someone, a female expert, to really stay in business?
To stay in business is to be resilient and just be okay with failing in public. I think that is something that freezes us a lot. Is that we don't want to we don't want to look stupid. What if someone doesn't join, so we don't do the workshop, right? What if someone says no, so we are scared to invite someone on a call? What if I create this and no one opts in? So there's so many things that we slow down because of the worst case scenario of us looking stupid. And I think for every entrepreneur that really wants to make money with their knowledge, is that they have to be okay failing. They have to be okay looking stupid. Take those L's. Be okay with it, because all it is just data. I always tell my coachees, it's data. It only means something because you're giving it a meaning, but it's just data. If no one shows up on your workshop, all it is data. But it means it becomes heavy, or oh my god, failing, because you give it that label, right? So I'm not saying it's an easy thing. I think it's something that you train. And of course I have my days where I'm like, oh my god, I'm over it, like I want to close my laptop, toss it. But I've learned my mind not to slow me down. So yes, I can have that feeling like, oh my god, it's just a heavy week, but it's not slowing me down, right? Because essentially it's just data. And I've also come to a point where I know that behind the scenes a lot of people don't know what they're doing, right? So even when I see a highlight reel, I know that there are so many sacrifices, tears, this, that, with that highlight reel, right? Because I I'm I've gone through it, I'm going through it, and now I understand, like, oh, okay, those are the things that are not necessarily being shared often, but because I've gone through it, and certain things I'm going through, I understand it better, what it takes to actually build, run, and grow a
Yes,
business.
absolutely.
So I'm not easily thrown, and I find just comfort with, if I'm having a bad day, then I know that a lot of entrepreneurs are having a bad day too today, right?
Absolutely.
Or maybe if it has a slow month, I know, like, oh, I'm not the only one having a slow month.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's an important point to highlight as well, because so many people think there's like something wrong with them because of how
Yeah.
marketing is, because it's always like 10K in 30 days, but then there's no context. Or, like my highest month, but no one is talking about the
Yes.
behind the scenes mess that might be happening with
Yes.
payments defaulting, and, like all of those things,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's so important to talk about it, because people in this
Yes.
phase,
True.
and they think, oh, everything is
True.
going to go great. Like, look at my mentor, they're doing great. But then you
Yeah.
don't give yourself the space to actually grow as an entrepreneur, as a
True.
business owner.
100%. I completely agree. And to be honest, Aisha, like, I understand that it can feel incredibly vulnerable to kind of, pull out the curtains and let people in, like, oh my God, I did this and, I failed, or I launched this and no one signed up. But I think truly that it will help a lot of people though. And that the perception of easy money can just like vanish once and for all, because it's not just 10K in 20 days. And obviously there are nuances. It depends on the momentum of that client, right? If they're already at like a 5 8K, of course, like the 10K can happen in 30 days. I'm not saying it's impossible, but depending on who you're targeting, oftentimes the 10K doesn't happen in 30 days, not because they don't have the skills. Oftentimes the embodiment needs time. It just needs time to adjust, to finally truly believe, like, yeah, I can make six figures, right? They can say it, but do they believe? And it's okay to also allow the person to navigate through that as well, and get to the point where they're actually like, yes, I believe, let's
Yeah.
go. And I think that's the part that takes time, that the 10K might not happen in four
Yeah, absolutely.
weeks.
So where do you see that this, market for experts wanting to monetize their knowledge, expertise, where do you see it going in the next year?
I think a lot of things are gonna happen. To be honest, I think you have to bring in your A game to survive. And it sounds a little bit dark, but it's just like the time of becoming an influencer. Back then I even had a fashion blog, right? I was quote unquote influencing as well. That was back in, I can't even remember, 2009 or whatever. People had like these blogs, you had whatever, whatever. And all of a sudden, that market became crowded. Everyone wanted to be an influencer. So even today, if you're like, I want to be an influencer, you have to bring your A game. Be prepared to invest in content, good content, creativity, right? How can you stand out? And same now goes for the info market. It's like, okay, if you wanna like hit maybe a six-figure a year, bring your A game. I truly don't believe that you can just come in and just get away with just doing whatever that you want to do. I mean, that was when I was starting. Honestly, you could just say A and people would sign up. Like, that's how it was, right? You didn't have to have anything whatsoever and you would be able to make sales. But that's not the case, because people are very sophisticated. They have poured a lot of money into themselves, like thousands upon thousands, right? So now they're sophisticated. Like me, I'm very aware what I need next. And I'm look for certain cues before buying, right? And same goes for other women. They're very, very wary of certain cues that they want to see. So I think where it's going, I think personal branding is going to be unmissable. If I have to be real, I think bringing your personality, your opinions, your unpopular thoughts, more of you, maybe not everything about your personal life. That's not what I'm saying, but it's just like, what are some of the associations that people can have of you as a course creator, facilitator, mentor? What are some of the associations? I think that's going to be important. And also the flexibility in offers as well. I was a firm believer of one offer, and I still am, but it has gotten a different, it's now put in a different context, right? Because oftentimes now you wouldn't have people ready to even hop on a call with you, but that doesn't mean it's a lost shot, right? So what do you do to have that person still in your offer ecosystem?
Yeah.
And if you only have just a sales call or a discovery call, however you want to name it, you might be losing a lot of opportunities. So I believe in also creating now an offer ecosystem, not with a lot of offers, but like if plan A, which is a sales call, don't fall through just yet because it's just premature. How is the person still, or how is that lead still being in your ecosystem and not going to someone else's because it's not in yours, they're in
Yeah,
someone else's for sure.
exactly. So, what would you say then is unique about the way you approach teaching your clients to market and also sell their high ticket services?
Yeah. First things first, I think for me and my program is the leadership coaching. Like I've leaned a lot and I've learned a lot about leadership, how to really pull out the person that I have in front of me, her strength, how to have that tough conversation, how to look into how to allow her to identify why she's triggered, where's it coming from, and how can she still navigate through that without removing her foot from the gas, right? So the leadership coaching is something that I have poured, or something that is coming into a lot more. It's not just it is mindset, but it's also just really empowering that woman to see who she truly is and what she's meant to be doing. And I think that has been the game changer. Also, seeing, because I have been leaning into that more, I've seen my clients even getting amazing results where I'm like, okay, so it's not just strategy, it's really pulling out the woman that she wants to be, and really pulling that out of her. Like, so that's definitely one, the leadership coaching. I focus also very much on the implementation, and I keep it very small and narrow. What I mean by that is, for example, if you would work with me, I don't teach you everything that you need to know about business because that's just too broad. And I think that's also sometimes where the overwhelm comes from, is that you're in a program that teaches everything, but do you need ads right now, or do you need email marketing right now, right? So I'm very honed into who I want to target, and therefore selectively have chosen particular topics where we dive into for the time being, because I've learned as well that even though it sounds very easy, like, oh, lead generation or closing deals on calls, it, yes, don't be shocked that you need 6 months even to learn that. Because sometimes I feel like people are like, ooh, that's long to learn just a skill. Is that all that we're gonna be doing? And sometimes it's, yeah, yeah, that's all
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
doing.
You need to,
So
you,
yeah, it's just like minimizing it. And I think that has been for me as well also very good, like to focus on, and even it creates more opportunity for me than to create an upsell, because I haven't taught everything and now I can have a different type of curriculum
right,
for the
right.
upsell.
So, what are the offerings that you're focused on right now?
Right now, that would be my signature program, which is the Self-Made CEO. It's a 6 months group coaching program, and it really focuses on getting a good understanding of your offer in today's marketplace and how you can get it in front of the right people and selling it consistently. So, not one time in 6 weeks, but like consistently understand how you can enroll X amount of clients per month. And this is also with the without having a big audience. I think I stress upon it because a lot of times people get discouraged because, oh, I don't have 1,000 followers yet. And it's something that I stress upon because I don't have a big audience still, but I've managed to hit close to 100K in revenue sales in 2024 with a tiny audience, right? So you don't need a big audience, especially when you're starting out. You don't need, I mean, if it comes to a certain point where you want to scale to a particular income goal, then maybe audience size becomes important. But when you want to hit your first 10K month or multiple 10K month or even your first six figures, I truly believe that you don't need a huge audience. And that is what I teach them inside of the Self-Made CEO program. Now, there's two ways that people can work with me, either in a group setting or one-to-one, where there's more close proximity to really dive into your business in a more private and intimate setting.
Yeah, amazing. So where can they contact you if they would like to evaluate your program?
I would say hit me up on my Instagram. It's called Digital Dreamers Hub. You will find more of my content there. You will also see more of my behind the scenes in my stories. And I will also love to share my podcast as well, because that's where I also have these conversations, what we are having right now, Aisha, about business, more the behind the scenes stories. My podcast is called True Talks Business. So if you are interested in hearing more about growing your business, but also like growing as a coach, a facilitator, a course creator, because that's also a piece on itself. That's also where I talk about these candid topics as
Okay,
well.
amazing. Well, thank you so much, Trudy, for your time, for sharing your story. Everyone, definitely make sure that you connect with Trudy, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye.